Hi, Heather. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm gonna blow
Good.
up my screen here. There we go. Now I can see you better.
Awesome.
Hide that mug of mine.
How are you
It's
doing today?
better when it looks like it's one-on-one.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I just got pictures from my sister and my oldest daughter to give to you.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I've only seen 3 pictures of me when I was going through that after the fact, and it was kind of brutal to see those pictures, so I just like, yeah, I don't think I need to see anymore. And then I don't know, my sister just sent me this flurry of pictures, and I had just about had a meltdown. I had to contain myself a second ago.
Oh,
A lot of pictures, you see everybody showing up for you and everything. It's one thing talking about it and another thing seeing it. So it's just
oh,
kind of weird.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
do you remember like being there in those pictures, but it's just bringing back a lot of the memories, or do you not have memories of that?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of memories of, like, I don't really have any memories from 23 days in the ICU. Um, I only know what people have told me. And then I had, in the last 4 years, I've had glitches come back to me, and then I've had to ask people, did this happen? And then they'll confirm it or say, well, no, it didn't happen like that, and that was later on.
Mm.
And so my memories, a lot of them are pieced together. I remember a lot more of the rehab, which was the hospital they moved me to after I left the ICU hospital. I remember certain routines that I did at the ICU hospital, um, but they're not my memories. They're I don't know. I don't know if I remember them or if they're just what people told me.
Ah.
But the rehab, I remember a lot of stuff about the rehab. Those are my most significant memories, I think. And um, yeah, at the ICU hospital, I was in a coma for 4 or 5 days. And then after coming out, I didn't, well, I'll let you ask the questions and stuff. I don't want to repeat everything.
All right. I know we just kind of jumped on in there. That's
I
good.
know, I know. I like your background.
Oh, thanks. It's to hide all the junk I have back there.
That's smart to do that. Is that a background or is it like a
It's a
curtain?
it's a cloth.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I should think about doing something like that.
yeah.
I have, some pictures and stuff back there. I guess it's not too bad, except for the vacuum cleaner. I
Oh,
usually have my jacket hanging over that.
I didn't even notice it until you pointed it out.
Ah, great.
All right. Well, welcome, Len. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm very excited to get to know you and get to know your experience with having a stroke and just learn from you and what you've gone through. So I first want to ask, how many years ago was it that you had your stroke?
It was in April 26th, 2017. So it's going to be 4 years this April.
Okay, 4 years.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you had that stroke?
52.
Okay.
Well, actually, No, I just turned 53 because I just turned 57. So yeah, I was 53.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and what do you have any memories of the actual stroke?
So what I remember is I was the last one to leave work that day. It was about 5:15 and I was starting to pack up my things, and I had been troubleshooting over the past 3 weeks, troubleshooting a problem that my sister was having with her Mac. And I don't really do Macs. I can do anything with anything other than apples. But it just occurred to me that I thought I knew how to fix her problem. So I called her up, and before I closed the lid on my laptop, I connected to her on Skype, and I had opened up all the ports on Skype security so that no matter what, everything was free to come and go, data wise. And she answered, and I said, "Hey," and she goes, "Hey, Brobo," and I said, "Can you hear me?" And she said, "Yeah," and I said, "I can hear you too. It's working." And that's all I remember. She said that I sat down in my chair because I was standing up, and I'm pretty sure I had my backpack open and was holding it with my right hand. I had just put a check into it because I was going to go cash a check. And she said I sat down and put my head in my hands and said that I had a really bad headache coming on. And then she said I started to seize up in the chair, and I had leaned back and was straightening up and stiffening up, and that she knew what was happening, and she said, she wasn't going to leave me, and she was going to get help and everything, and that she was talking to me while it was happening. But that's the last words I remember saying is, I can see you. Can you hear me? Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. Everyone was where they were supposed to be, though. They
Oh,
pretty amazing how everybody got to me so fast, and they had conferenced in um, the 911 person, and then the paramedics were on their way, and she kept talking to me. I slid off the chair onto the floor, kind of partially. I think she said that I slipped from her view, but she kept talking to me, and she said she could hear me making noises once in a while. Um, she got hold of my oldest daughter, who was just getting into the car to go get ice cream with my granddaughter and my son-in-law. And Sean, my son-in-law, worked with me at the same company. So he ran in and got the key to the office, and then asked her to move over. And then he drove to the office, and I guess they arrived. Sean said the firemen were in the lobby. They were going to break the door open, but Sean ran in, stuck the key in, and then led them right to my office. And then they started working on me there. And they got me out of there, and took me to Mercy Hospital in Folsom. And Folsom didn't have the capacity to deal with strokes, the Mercy Hospital there. So they put me back in the ambulance, and they transferred me to Mercy San Juan or Mercy General. It's the one that has the stroke unit. I always get the two confused, but I think it's Mercy San Juan. And then my two sisters flew up. They lived down in Walnut Creek in Lafayette, and they drove super fast to Sacramento, and they got there about the same time. I guess it was pretty close to the same time that my oldest daughter and son-in-law, and that did. And Miranda, my oldest daughter, said that when they were working on me at the office, the phone was vibrating on my desk, and it was Tiffany. Tiffany was calling me, and so Miranda picked it up and told her what was happening, and so she dropped everything and
who is Tiffany?
went to meet my my family, you know. So Tiffany and I had just really started dating not more than 5 weeks earlier.
Wow.
And yeah, and I had just introduced her to the kids at Easter. We had Easter dinner together, and that was just, I don't know, what was Easter that year, 2 weeks before the 26th. It was pretty close to when this happened. So, you know, just hearing about, you know, when I woke up and she was there, that was a pretty big deal. She never left.
Wow.
So yeah, so I had to lock it down and we got married. You're never gonna find another woman like that.
No.
Tiffany's heart's just so big anyway. I would ask her to marry me sooner or later.
Yeah.
We just started dating, you know, but she's pretty special, as you know.
Yes. And so I met Tiffany recently and we started talking, and that's how I told her about my idea of starting to interview stroke survivors who have learned to get back to doing what they enjoy doing, or getting back to doing something that they love. And she said, "Oh, you should talk to my husband." Well, I should.
How funny. I think what you're doing is really awesome and needed based upon what I experienced with other people who had strokes at the hospital. I can tell you so much about attitudes and things that happen to them that crush their souls, and just, you know, not everybody approached it like I did, but I was fortunate. I was fortunate, you know, I experienced something others did not, and you know, woke up talking about it. So that's the only real memory I have from the ICU, but it wasn't when I was conscious. You know, I was in the coma, and when I woke from the coma, I was telling people that I had saw Jesus, and Jesus, you know, said some things to me. So because of that, I knew I wasn't going to die and that I was going to be okay. And I feel like I'm going to try really hard to hold it together for the interview. But it was blessed to have that experience. So he do
you feel like that is what helped you and your mindset when you woke up and started recovering?
100%. Yeah, I've always been a pretty positive guy. I look on the upside of things, but I'm not so sure how I would have dealt with you know, the way that I was when I first came out of it. You know, I had a long journey back, but it went pretty fast in the relative timeline of things for everybody else. You know, where I was accelerating, other people were the same as when they, you know, woke up after their surgeries and things like that. So you know, Jesus, I walked into the side of a hill, and I was in kind of a dimly lit cave, and I was looking at the ground to watch my step, and then I saw, you know, I saw sandals, and you know, the image of him was very much like how we all believe him to look, based on movies and things like we've seen and drawn pictures and things like that. But as I started to look up, everything was getting so bright, and the closer I got to where the face should be, I felt like I shouldn't look him in the face. And then I fell to the ground, and because my legs got really weak, and then he spoke without speaking. He told me that the kids were fine, because I remember worrying about the kids, that the kids weren't like ready for me to leave, and he said the kids were fine, and he said, you're not going anywhere. And he said a few things, and then he said that he said, I'm weaponizing you, and he didn't mean me, he meant us in general, like people. I'm weaponizing people. And then he said that, yeah, we needed to spread the word more. And at first, my first thought was, I had spoke back to him. It was really the only time I spoke back to him was when I asked him, what do you mean? Do you mean about the resurrection? And then he was gone. And so I only remember when he said that, I thought about that for years, literally. What did he mean by that? And I think what he meant is that we need to immerse ourselves in the word more, and talk about the word more. People should stop feeling shame about his name and about reading the word, and just be open about it and talk about it like we're having a conversation here. I know in the past, I grew up Catholic, and in the past, when you used to bring up his name, people would just like look towards the sky, or they'd look away, and the conversation pretty much ended, and that sort of thing. But nowadays, anytime I bring his name up, or talk about God in general, people are thirsting to talk about it now. And just like they light up, when somebody talks so openly about it, it's like, oh my gosh, I can talk about it too. So yeah, he said other things, and I had to ask my sister, my oldest sister. She got super curious about what did he look like, and she was asking me all kinds of questions, and I asked her about a year ago to write down everything verbatim that she remembered about what I was saying, things that I said that he talked about, and because I was afraid that my memory was going to dissipate and I was going to lose it. So I wrote down everything I could, and then she's written about 3 pages worth of stuff down, and my memory is a problem. It's a problem for me, not so much for others. People, I used to be lightning fast, and super technical. I can fix anything. I can do anything technical. I can take things apart and rebuild them. But since the stroke, a lot of that stuff's become a problem. Processing is my biggest problem, like processing speed. I get frustrated because I used to be pretty great when it came to all that, but now things are quite a bit slower. Maybe a lot of people say they don't notice it. Tiffany will say, I can't tell, and my sisters and my kids will say, I can't tell, but I can tell. And it's a problem, because my mind spins so fast just naturally that to keep up with myself now, it's very frustrating. And then when you lose what you were going to say, like we might experience it talking today, where I'm thinking about something I want to tell you, but by the time I get there, it'll be gone. So that's a problem.
Is there anything that you've noticed that helps with that, like writing things down that you're thinking about, or any strategies?
Yeah. Yeah, I learned some strategies from the therapists that were so helpful. The people at Mercy are incredible. They're that unit of people, the people in the ICU and the people in the stroke unit are so massively competent and serious about their work, but at the same time, they're so caring and loving. I told everybody, you know, when I left the hospital, the biggest thing I miss about the hospital is you must have been told 100 times a day what a great job you were doing. And then if we did that to each other all day, and you work with people all day that told each other that, we'd be much better off as people, because you start to believe there's nothing you can't do. And in a stroke unit, everybody, you know, men and women alike, they need to hear it. They really do. They need to hear it all the time, even if you're just doing this. Great job. Things I remember about recovery, just you couldn't even hold a ball. I was relearning everything. I was, you know, had nothing with no movement, anything on my left side. I'm very fortunate to not have like the droopy face. That was one of the first questions I asked. I'm not typically a vain kind of guy at all, but I was really concerned that I was, you know, what were my family looking at? Was Tiffany looking at? Did I have the face, my jaw was down to here or something, you know? It's so exaggerated in my mind.
Yeah. Len, can you move the camera down just a little bit? There you go. Perfect.
Like that?
Yep. There you
Okay. I'll sit up straighter too.
go. So when you woke up, it was the left side of your body that wasn't, was it paralyzed or weakened, or what was it?
Yeah, it was non-functioning. They were sticking me and prodding me and putting weight down on me to try to get it to move or come alive, try to get response from me. So I was told that after that went on for days, that there was a nurse that came in, and she had been putting all her weight on my feet and everything, trying to get some kind of movement going on. And then one day she did it, and they said that, she said, "Can you feel that?" And they said that I said that I opened my eyes and I said out loud, "Of course I can feel that. That freaking hurts," except I was using the expletive. So I don't know. It just, I guess maybe it just was coming back on its own, or whatever they were doing with me. I remember, well, I don't remember, but I was told about, there was a lady, a very tall therapist, and I went and met them after leaving the hospital. I met them and thanked them. She was the one that would lift me up, and she, when they were trying to get me to stand and get my body moving and building the muscle and everything, she kept lifting me up, and she'd say, "Now don't lean back. I want you to put your weight down." And I remember a lot of my legs were burning, like on fire, like felt like somebody threw gasoline on them and lit a match to them. And so I would lean, you know, try to lean back, and we would fall on the bed, and then she'd get up. She kept saying my name out loud, and she's lifting me up again, and she would do it again and again and again. And then eventually it started to come back, but I couldn't walk right away. I was in a wheelchair for a while, and still they tell me to use the buzzer in my bed if I needed help to go to the bathroom or whatever. And one time I tried to get up because I thought I could do it, and then I slid sideways and fell down, and the maintenance guy came in and helped me up onto the bed. And he said, you know, you're supposed to use the buzzer. And I said, well, I only fell because there was water left on the floor. He said, dude, that's not water. You peed yourself. You slipped on your own. And I went, oh, and then I got in big trouble with my oldest daughter because they called her and it was the middle of the night and she laid it into me over the phone. Deservedly so. After that, I think just listening and doing whatever the therapists or the nurses told me to do, the doctors told me to do, whatever they said to do, that's what I did. And I think that had a lot to do with the speed of my recovery too. I mean, my willpower, it was all because of the encounter with Jesus. I know that it was, because every day and every night I would pray and I read the word during the day when I wasn't in therapy. The therapy started early in the morning, around 9, and it went till 5 every day. And we took a break for lunch. The day would start with breakfast, and then you'd have dinner after all the therapies were over. But they were working you like just constantly, and it was all the different therapies like you asked about. You know, there was physical, occupational, swallowing therapy, you know, like to get you to be able to swallow again. And then there was reasoning and logic. So there was a lot of cognitive. A lot of it was on paper. They did a little bit on computers, but not too much on computers, because vision is a problem with a lot of people who have strokes. You know, right away, it's a problem. And for most, it comes back, and for others, it doesn't.
How was your vision affected?
Oh yeah. It was very blurry. I had massive blind spot damage in the lower left of both my eyes. There was a lot of damage that's permanent, but I was super fortunate that I heard a conversation about this doctor who makes these glasses with layers of lenses. They're called Prism Glasses. And he happened to be he had an office right across the street from the parking lot of the hospital. And so he ran all kinds of these tests so he could show us visually where the damage was on the back of I think it's the retina. And he'd show you, this is temporary, this is permanent, this is never going to come back. And he said, but these lenses, they take everything that you're bringing in and they shift everything to the left. I want to say 7 inches, but I'm not sure of the distance now. And then what happens is this was explained to me by a therapist. Her name was Nikki, and she was hugely significant in my recovery. She was so patient with me, and she explained everything to me because I was curious about everything. And so she explained that when you see things, it goes up to your cortex where you see things and it translates things, but it twists, like the signals twist along the back of the head where it connects the spine. And then, you know, whatever your brain is telling you you're seeing and it needs your body to do, that's where that conversation is had. So your brain, even though it can't see anything in the damaged areas, the lenses move the damaged part over, and then you're seeing everything that should be in those spaces. And when you wear these glasses, and the idea is that eventually you don't have to wear them anymore, and I don't. It only took about 3.5 to 4 months. Your brain reroutes all the information and goes around the damage, and tells your, the rest of your brain, it tells it what it's seeing in full. And at first, I was veering to the left when I would walk. When I go on walks, I would run into fences or walls, and corners were a big problem, or corners of tables. And then eventually you don't have to wear these glasses, and because your brain's filled in all the spots. It's incredible. The doctor's a miracle worker. I think he's genius, and he doesn't want to take credit for any of it. He's just like, he's so humble and modest.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Dr. Fong is his name.
Hi, Dr.
I think it's Albert Fong. I've got his card here somewhere, and I can send you a list of all these resources that I used, that helped me. At Don Fong. Let's see if that works.
Can't see it.
See that?
Oh, there we go. Dong Fong. Okay. Yes, I would love that.
He'd be a great interview. He's got so many stories he could share with you, and he could explain the glasses better than I can.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. So, it sounds like you had that kind of left side neglect. So, but the glasses have helped kind of retrain your eyes.
Yeah. So I got up to, I want to say, like 80 to 83% peripheral back now. And I'm after I went home, I stayed with my oldest daughter and son-in-law for about 2.5 to 3 months. I think it was closer to 3 months. And while I was there, the therapist came to the house. I had qualified for this program at Mercy called Rehab Without Walls, and it's fantastic. The therapists were awesome. So I was having them come. Some would come at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then they would spend some spent an hour with me, some spent 3 hours with me. The cognitive, I think I had all women therapists, and then one man. The man was the cognitive guy, and he was so laid back, but he pushed without pushing. He was just like, this is what we're going to do today, and then when we're done, we're done. But I want you to take your time through it, and then we're going to have times where I'm going to give you a limited amount of time to do things. And when I was working with him, my memory was better than it had ever been in my life. These tools that he had in these packets and that he would take out of this expanded folder, they were incredible. I mean, for the average person like you and me, and just doing that kind of work on a regular day basis, it would be amazing what it can do for your memory. Give me 100 words, and he would read them out loud, and he'd say, now give them back to me, as many as you can. And I would get 75-80% of them back to him, and then we'd go through another 2 hours and 40 minutes of exercises, and then he would say, remember the words we went over in the morning? And I said, yeah. And he'd say, give them back to me again, only alphabetically. And I just stare at him. Are you kidding me? And he could just try. And then I would just look down at the table, and I would start rattling, and sometimes I get 65% of them in alphabetical order back to him. I have no idea how.
Wow.
But everybody should have one of him, that's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, Rehab Without Walls was so significant in my recovery. They were it was so awesome that they came to the house where I was, and we didn't have to run to 6 different offices to have appointments and things like that, because that was exhausting. Just working out everything all day long was exhausting. By the time dinner came at the hospital, oftentimes I wanted to lay down, but then when it came time to lay down, I couldn't go to sleep. And so you get these shots in your stomach every 2 hours or so. And so I don't know, it was hard to sleep through the nights. I'd get up and I would walk around. I'd ask if I could walk around the stations, and did that, talk to the nurses until they'd say, you need to go back to sleep because you got a big day tomorrow. Then they start putting more responsibility on me because I was staying up at night and trying to exhaust me more, I think. But they're such good people, and they qualified me there at the hospital for rehab without walls. And then they came and I had the physical therapy. They worked a lot on balance. And that was really important. You don't realize how important balance is until you don't have it. But they kept working me up to where I could stand on one leg for 30 seconds, then it was a minute, and then standing on one leg, putting the other leg out in front of me, and then the one leg I'm standing on to start bending and try to get as close to a sitting position without falling over. And these exercises like sitting down on the floor and then standing up and doing that 5 times in a row really fast as you can. And even for a normal person like today, that's difficult to do. You get dizzy and you just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and they're pushing you, they're pushing you harder. And then I had the kind of physical therapy where they have you walk on uneven ground, and then they have you run on uneven ground, and then do these leg crossovers as you're running sideways on grass, and then they'd have you do that up and down a grassy hill, and just trying to get it to where you're not going to fall over. And it starts out slow. Every new thing starts out slow, but then it picks up. And I think it's really good that they do those things and they go in small increments. You feel your self-esteem builds up, and you start to believe that you're going to get better. A lot of people self-isolate. They put up a fight. They want to skip therapy of all kinds. Occupational, they teach you to cook again, like to make a meal at the hospital. Simple things like that, shaving yourself, brushing your teeth. Funny story, Nikki, she's the one I told you about that was really significant in my recovery. She first day she came in at the rehab hospital, it was my first day, and she came in and laid down a shirt and some shorts, like sweat shorts, to work out in. And she said, we're just going to start out with some simple stuff, what's your name and what day is it? Do you know what day it is? And I didn't know what day it was. They had it written so big on the whiteboard right there in front of me, and I wasn't getting it. I had no idea that they had written it there. She said, well, why don't you put your shirt on so we can go down the hallway to the therapy room. We'll go do some physical therapy to get her all will you down there. And I was like, okay. So I'm acting like I'm all excited to go, and I'm struggling to get my shirt on. And she let me try for almost 5 minutes. And I was like this, and I was just like, I can't do it. And she said, why do you think you can't do it? And I said, I'm too weak. And she goes, no, maybe it's because you're trying to put your shorts on over your head. And I just stood there. I was like, are you kidding me? It's how unaware you are. You don't have a clue. You Everything that is so normal is just, your brain isn't working the way it's supposed to. It's not putting two and two together. So just really common things.
Like you're
Even,
reading.
yeah, it's just relearning it. Going to the bathroom. They'll help you and they sit you down and you trying to go to the bathroom and you're sitting there waiting for something to happen and nothing's happening because you're not willing it to happen. It's like your body is saying, are you going to go? And you're like, yeah, I'm waiting to go. I'm like, what are you waiting for? I'm waiting to go to the bathroom. Well, you have to try it. Yeah, everything's muscle based, but your mind has to tell it, you know, lift up the mouse, lift up the cup, all these things that you don't even think twice about, and the brain's just not connecting them.
Mhm.
So,
Wow. So Len, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that when you were in the hospital and the therapist was helping you stand, and you said you felt like your legs were on fire
yes.
when you were doing that. So what was that like, working through that kind of pain, and how long did that kind of last for?
Um, I believe that was in the ICU hospital. So they worked with me for many days on that, and that was I think before, when they were trying to get life back in my left side. So after the nurse that put her weight down on my feet and got a reaction, Tiffany said that one day, like my family and Tiffany, they really bonded. They were all taking turns in the IC unit. The IC unit, normally they don't allow more than 2 people at a time, but the family was coming in together and there was a lot of laughter. They were, cracking each other up while probably at my expense, but that's okay because that's who they are. I love them. So they did that and they allowed them to stay because they felt that the laughter coming from the room was helping people in the other rooms, like hearing that. And I know after they woke the foot up, I think the rest of the body started to come back. And then the therapy, as a matter of fact, I want to say that I think her name was Heather. I think I have a picture of them that I'm going to send to you. There was a guy with her that would come once in a while, and I remember, well, I don't remember, but I've seen pictures. He has red hair. He's Irish. I think he's in a band. They were so kind, the two of them, and they were, full of laughter, and they love their jobs. I think they really love doing what they do. Um, but I remember it was just a couple of days before they transferred me to rehab that I was able to lift my leg. And Tiffany said that one day when I moved my finger on one of my hands, that everybody cheered. Because it was movement, And it kind of goes back, every little thing should be celebrated because I think everybody needs that stepped encouragement, anything, because some people it never comes back for. Met a guy in the stroke unit who I talked to, and he was an ex football player and a baseball player. He did both for a few years, and then he got injured, and then when he had the stroke, he had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend stopped coming to see him. And the girlfriend had been bringing his mother to the hospital, and so his mother was older, but she could have taken a taxi or whatever, but she stopped coming to see him, and he was the girlfriend was bad enough, but when the mother stopped coming to see him, he just wanted to lay down. He didn't want to do therapy anymore. He didn't want to go get his legs stretched out. Um, there was a young male in there who had wiped out on a bike and hit his head so hard on the ground, he had had a stroke. And I want to say he was like 16. And they had a big helmet on him just to keep his brains in his head. And he was in the wheelchair for the longest time. The, the people that worked there were talking to him, but none of the other patients there were talking to him. So I wasn't sure about him, whether he wanted to be talked to or not. Yeah, so when I walk in the room, I'd say, hey, his name, and then, I would sit next to him to eat next to him, and we'd just eat in peace. And then sometimes I'd go sit next to him in the physical therapy room. And eventually, when it came time to do things like learn to hold a ball and tilt your hand so you could roll the ball on this mat, they had us playing bocce ball, but it was just for fun, and it was really funny because you're not throwing the ball, and there's no real strategy except to get the ball out of your hand and onto the mat, rolling towards the other balls. And they're very simple things, but the one day that they were going to get him to stand up out of his wheelchair, I sat on the floor and I held his lower leg when they were helping him stand up. And then I cheered when they held him up. It was the first time he did that, but I clapped and made a big deal out of it. And he was completely emotionless until I went back and sat in my chair and I looked across at him, and then he cracked a smile. And then I knew that he was on his way out after that, and he made tremendous progress before I left the hospital. So some people just need to get over a hump, I think, and I think they need to be encouraged and they need to see others doing it. That was really important, that when they saw others making accomplishments, they would start to talk about it. And then they'd want to be like that other person. They'd want to do that. So I went from walking the loops in the middle of the night to asking them if I could start to run them, because they had taught me to run. And when I say that, I mean like walking fast, about 20-30 steps, and then in the middle of the night my run was at first that going around several times until I was really tired, and then it started to get faster and faster. And then they realized that I was really running, and they were like telling me, if you're going to run, you need to run down the center of the hall, because if anybody comes out of the room, we don't want you running into them. So they were giving some extra. But then when I went to leave the hospital, I graduated. They have a graduation days for people. A couple of the guys told me that they had remembered being up at night and seeing me run past their door, and that had encouraged them to, they wanted to get there. They wanted to get back to that. So that really says a lot. I think that the fact that they put everybody together to work through things together, and then you accomplish together and encourage each other, that's really, really important. And that is against everything that people that have strokes want to do. I saw a lot of them hollering at nurses saying, just leave me alone. And I just want to go home. I just want to go to bed. I just want to do this. But they didn't let them. They wouldn't. They would just keep pushing them kindly, but they just kept pushing them. We got to do this. And so it was important for others who had gone through the same thing to encourage them too. So they didn't like beat up on all the nurses and stuff all the time. I don't imagine that's an easy job to do day in and day out. I know that I know that they see a lot of people die. Two nights when I was awake, standing at my doorway, lights started going off, and they said, "Leonard, to your bed." So I went back to the bed, but I left my door open, and then they wheeled people past on the gurney, and the sheet was over the head, so I knew they didn't make it. And then I'd wait 30 minutes, and I would go walk the circle to see whose room was empty, so I could see what guy or what girl I wasn't going to be talking to anymore. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah, well, it's like you've got both ends of the spectrum. It's encouraging to see people do well and see people like you running the halls, and then it's got to be a little discouraging
Oh,
those who actually pass away.
yeah. Yeah, a couple days after each time that happened, there were people in the unit talking like, why should I try? I know that after I had gone home from my oldest daughter's house, one of your questions was what wasn't helpful with recovery, what did not help. One of the, I'm not going to say the name, but one of the therapists who was really great, she said to me when we were walking into the backyard one day, she gave me a statistic. She said that, did you know that said it was like 70% of, no, she didn't say people. She said, you've got a 70% chance that you'll have another stroke and you won't survive it. And I remember thinking to myself, why in the hell would you say that?
Yeah.
Why? I don't want to hear that, and I'm not going to believe that. But I just remember, I didn't verbalize that to her, but I just thought, that's the kind of stuff that doesn't help. When people jump to help you because you're not moving as fast as you should or you used to. The doctors on graduation day, they talk to the whole family and everything, and they have you demonstrate all the things that you can do. So that's more for the family, I think. It felt kind of weird doing it, showing off, I can do this, I can walk a beam, I can do 2 flights of stairs, that sort of thing. But I think it was more for the family to give them confidence that I was going to be okay, and to know what I could do when I went home and that sort of thing. But the doctor said a couple of things. He asked them not to fill in the blanks for me when I couldn't put words together. And then if I couldn't lift something up, or I was, if I missed my mouth with the food or whatever, not to jump to help every single time, because that's our natural reaction for people we love, right? But it's very helpful when you have to do things yourself and somebody's not nursing you forever. It's like picking a baby up that cries all the time, or jumping every time the dog barks. You can't do that, because then they know you're going to do everything for them by crying or barking. And it's just not good for, like, me as a person. It definitely was not good to have somebody hold my hand with everything. I wanted to do it all on my own again. And so my family and friends and Tiffany, and they all listened to the doctor really good. I didn't get a lot of that at all. I think, there were times where I was like really super frustrated with things, and I caught myself asking for the help, and it almost got into me just asking them because it was faster. And then I realized I was doing it like from memories. That's what it was. It was like, instead of trying to remember or just being okay with it, not the memory not being there, I would keep asking the same thing over and over again to get the answer quickly. And it's much better to not do that, because though people who have strokes think that the first time they fail at something that it's never going to come back, it does. A lot of it does. I'm not saying all of it, because it all definitely does not come back. But you have to give yourself a break. You know, you can't sit there and beat up on yourself, because these are just physical, bodies. You can't destroy them. I couldn't take a punch from Mike Tyson and expect to just bounce back up and be ready to go get another one. You just can't. We're very hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a
Human
good
nature.
point. With the patients that I work with, I have to remind them to be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. You just had a, a, a stroke. Your brain is still healing. Your body is healing.
Yeah. When
Time.
when they said that it could take up to 2.5, 3, 4 years before I was going to be able to do things again, and then maybe at that point things would never come back, that was a hard one to accept. So I didn't, and I just, a few months ago was the first time I had realized, towards the end of my therapy, the beginning of your therapy, they make you write down goals. Once you can write again, they make you write down goals for yourself as well as the ones they set for you. And one of the things on my list was be able to catch a football again over my shoulder, but be able to throw a football again. So I had this great physical therapist that was coming to my oldest daughter's house, and she would take me to the park. She got me to the point where I could run around the track at a high school 2 times without stopping. And then she ran with me. She was like super fit, so whatever I wanted to do, she would do it with me. We went hiking. The very last day I was with her, she said, "We're going to throw a ball today." And I went, "Oh, we're not going to do this other stuff?" She said, "No, you had this on your list, and it's the only thing we haven't done." So we threw the ball back and forth to each other. And then she said, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I think I can throw the ball over your shoulder." So I was teaching her how to throw spirals, and then she threw. It took me, I think, 3 attempts, and then the third time I was able to catch it over my shoulder. But to get the math down and everything, that it was a little challenging. But I was so happy to be able to do that again, because I had played football, street football, my whole life, and just to be able to do that again, I knew that things were working inside here again to be able to do that, and then just a few months ago, I said to Tiffany, I want to throw the bicycle back on the back of the car, and I want to go down to the parking lot down the hill, and I want to ride the bike. I had not ridden a bike for years, and I just remembered that it was on my personal list, and I had this bike sitting in the garage for all that time. But I went down, and that was quite easy. Like, when they say it's just like riding a bike, they're dead serious. That term came from somewhere, but that was the easiest thing to redo. Again, it was just like super easy. I was able to ride fast. I was able to take tight turns. All these things we take for granted, but it brings great joy when you accomplish them.
Mhm.
So I would encourage, people who have had strokes, they just have to keep trying. Sometimes things are never going to come back. Like, I've come to settle on the idea that my processing speed is not going to return, but I'm okay with the speed that I've got right now. It's still faster than a lot of people. Um, I can play Trivial Pursuit, and I can come up with answers really quick. I still beat people sometimes, and that's good enough. It doesn't have to be lightning fast anymore. I'm not going to go through the next 50 years of my life and keep beating myself up just because I can't come up with solutions in 100 nanoseconds. it's okay. I'm still here. And every morning I wake up, I take inventory of air and warmth and light, because light is important, to be able to take it all in. Vision's very important to me. So the fact that I can see colors and I can see things clearly most of the time. I wear these to read, and sometimes, you know, my vision does seem to still a problem. You know, I still have difficulty with blurriness at certain distances, but I think that was starting to happen before the stroke. So you can't blame everything. Some stuff's just going to be age, right? But yeah, I literally take inventory of those things every morning. And the scripture that Tiffany put on the wall next to my bed in the hospital, the ICU unit, I would read that every morning, and I'd read it every night, and then I would touch it, and then I would go to sleep, and I would wake up to that before I went to my first therapy class. I'd read it over and over and over again. And then when we got married, in our backyard in Placerville, we had that scripture up on an easel to share with everybody. And I just think that that was a way to keep Christ close to me, because I never felt closer to God than when I was in that hospital. When you have your slate cleaned, the job's gone, all your worries are gone. Your focus is just to move again. And when all that stuff, when that's all you've got, there's no better time than to turn to God, because you're close and you can hear him and you can see him in everything going on around you. And to this day, because of the distraction of the world and all of the things going on out there in the world today, with all this distraction, I want to stay as close to getting back to that I can. And that's what I try to do every day, is to get back to that closeness again. Because when you're that close, you can do anything. You just don't have worries like paying the rent, or I don't look at the world the same way anymore. It's not about the money chase. I'm doing things because I want to serve other people. I want to help people. I want to, even with the work that I'm trying to do now, I want to serve people. That's the reason that I want to do it, not because I want to make $1 million. That's just worldly stuff. This is what I like. I like relationship and connection, and making people laugh and smile. I've always liked to do that, but I like to do that even more now. The world's a much better place if people would just like ease up, just relax. It's just not worth it to get wound up about so much stuff.
Yeah,
Stuff doesn't matter.
Wonderful that such a life-changing event can kind of take you one of two ways, and you have kind of taken the route of I guess being grateful for this life-changing event.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I mean, yeah, I have a picture that I got this morning that I'm going to send to you. This is the first time they rolled me outside in the bed, and I was able to have sunlight on me, and I didn't have to have like IVs and stuff. I think I still was wired up, and they rolled that out with the bed. It was a big deal to get that bed outside, but they knew it was so important to me that they wanted to do that. And I remember the sun, I just remember the feeling on the hair on my arms. And so every day, like if I go outside or I feel that sun, takes me back.
Mm.
And then you can't help but be grateful. You know, I'm on my feet, and I'm not strapped into a bed so I don't roll out of it, or I'm not in a wheelchair anymore. You know, I didn't like that. I didn't like being in a wheelchair. The minute that I felt I could get out of it, I got out of it. That was another driver to push harder, and did all that. Then I get to run instead of walk. That's a big deal. And on my graduation day, this physical therapist who had been really tough on me the whole time, he took me out in this courtyard area, and they had a basketball hoop out there, and he threw the ball, bounced it to me, and I caught it, and he said, "We're going to play one-on-one." And I went, "You and me?" And he said, "Yeah." And so we played one-on-one. It was unbelievable. I still remember him. I can't remember his name, but yeah, it was just one of those things like where you go to school and you always have that one teacher it's just like so hard on you. It's like, "Why do you hate me?" And they say, "Don't. I just know you can do better," and you remember them to this day forever, right? I bet you have that teacher.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that was that doctor.
That's
That was
awesome.
cool. A lot of good comes from bad, It's the way things are. You can choose to do what's normal human nature. That's to protect yourself, self-preservation, right? You could isolate, you could lay down, you could go to sleep. Some probably go home and kill themselves. They're so depressed. A lot of depression battling going on, but everything's a choice. But I think everybody needs somebody to be there and encourage them and hold their hand and not pity them, but that doesn't help anybody. But just believe in them. I think that's so important. So important.
Definitely. Definitely. That's great. It sounds like you had a lot of great support in your recovery, a lot of people believing in you.
I did. My whole family showed up. I had family members that lived really far away in other states come and visit me, and they couldn't stay long, but they just showed up. And I remember like faces, some of the faces. I don't remember the conversations I had with them, but I remember how happy I was to just see them. And then I was told later that I had friends in other states that wanted to fly in to come check on me and see me, and they asked them not to, but I remember some of them came even though they were asked not to. So I love that. Maybe my family in the ICU didn't, but I love that. I love it when everybody shows up even when they're not supposed to. But yeah, family, Tiffany showed up. I remember first seeing Tiffany's face. I kind of leaned back and I saw her and I said, "It's you."
Oh.
I know. It's all good. I was told that family read the Bible to me, that they sang to me. Even when I was in the coma, they were singing to me and reading to me and just holding my hand and just letting me know I was there, letting me know they were there, and letting me know I was there too, I guess. That yeah, it's great. It's great to be loved. That's for sure. Yeah.
So, Len, what would you say to someone who might be watching this who doesn't have that kind of support, who just had a stroke?
Well, I think that this is not an easy thing to do, but if you take it to heart, it can help. It's people place their identity in so many things. How much do I own? What things do I have? My job is my identity. If I can't do that, I'm nobody. You seriously have to throw all that garbage out, because that's what it is. It's garbage. What you're doing right now with me to help others that have had strokes, that's the identity, the relationship, serving other people. That is key. If we stop thinking about ourselves and we start thinking about others, all the pain and the failure that we feel with ourselves, it'll go away. If you can think, to put it in the most simplest terms, if you think about how you feel when you give a gift to somebody for a birthday or Christmas, or somebody that you were in love with once, and you gave them this gift and they were so happy and you got this great kiss as the return. If you can remember that feeling versus somebody giving you the gift, it always feels better to give than to receive, always. And if we had unlimited funds in our pocket, you'd find that that's true. You'd want to spend and buy things for your friends and your family and take care of them, because it feels better to give than to receive. So if we stop focusing on ourselves and focus on others, you'll get better. I promise you that you will get better, because that feeling that you get when you're taking care of somebody or helping somebody that is even less fortunate than you, because there's always somebody less fortunate than ourselves. If you focus on that feeling, you'll forget all about what you're going through. That's the truth. That's the promise. For people who know God, my identity is in God. I only care what God thinks about me. When Tiffany and I, before we got married, we talked to each other about this very thing. We said, God's going to be first. You're going to be second. And if you're not okay with that, then we've got a problem already. But we were both okay with that. And by putting God first and us second, it takes all the pressure off. I don't have to perform and be Tiffany's number one. I don't have to be that. I just have to show up, and God takes care of the rest. And that's exactly what will happen to people who have had strokes. You do what you can, and that's enough. You don't have to beat yourself up about it every day. Just do what you can, and God's going to do the rest. God will take care of them. I believe that. That's what I believe.
That's great. I think that's very good words of advice and encouragement. And I think that a lot of people need to hear that, because not everyone is blessed to have a family, especially right now with COVID and people not being able to be in the hospital with their loved ones. That's got to
Very
be
true. That's very true. I see it happening with Tiffany's people that she helps with memory care and stuff like that. I have friends who have had parents that passed and they couldn't even be there to be with them when they passed, and it's horrible. I was working with the hospital at Mercy at the stroke unit to provide these care boxes to the unit. I have like 25 of them here in the office. These boxes have tools in them that were super helpful to me, that I got from Rehab Without Walls. Some of them, they were not digitized, they weren't in a digital format. So I created them in sheets and laminated them. And then there's a Bible in each one of these boxes. There's other tools in there, a list of resources, people that they can call. And then the hospital said if I could put like a little profile of myself in there with my phone number, and if somebody, when they went home, could have 1 30-minute call with me if they ever needed it, is that something I'd be willing to do? And I said, of course. Well, COVID hit before I got these boxes in the hospital. I have to go through like the training, volunteer training they have at the hospital before I can go in and maybe sit in on some of the physical therapy sessions and encourage others in there. I have to go through that training before I can start doing that, but I have the boxes ready to go. So when things loosen up, these care boxes, I think I called them uplift boxes, because if they're in their rooms, they said what will happen is the nurses will have them at the station, and if when they feel that somebody has gotten to the point where that could become useful to them and they can make a choice to either have it or not, they'll offer it to them. Some of them, it's too early. They're still just going through the whole physicality of it and don't even know their name or what day it is. It took me a week before I remembered to look at the whiteboard and read what day it was. It took me a week to do that. Just so dumb that it took me that long. See, I'm doing it. I'm beating myself up, but it just seems silly, right? It's right there. All I have to do is look at it. But yeah, so between things like this that could help them and these tools, I'm happy to pass those over to you, Heather, and you could share them out with people that you interview, and you could give it to them. You could give them the digital formatted documents, simple things, their routine lists. Routines helped me tremendously. Sequencing things. To this day, if I start cooking a big meal for a bunch of people want to come in and they want to help, If they interrupt my flow, I have to turn everything off and I have to start over again, get to the point to where the sequencing works for me. I know what needs to happen next. But if something interrupts that, I'm like, I know you want to help, but I can do this much faster, just going solo. So sequencing helps, having things in a particular order, routines. So I had to have that documented. And then you have things that you want to do. So things you need to do every day, and then things that you want to do. You do the things that you need to do first, and then you get to the want to do's. And that helps with your purpose. Because I know that a lot of them felt like they had lost their entire purpose. And that goes back to the identity thing, so.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I didn't know about that. Uplift boxes?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow.
They're all up on the shelf over there, just waiting to go to the hospital someday.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, we'll definitely be in contact about those. That's cool. I did want to ask you about, so you mentioned, you had a job before the stroke. And so what are you doing now for work?
So I used to implement time and attendance systems at the job I had before I had the stroke. And when I moved back into my oldest daughter's home with my son-in-law and my granddaughter, who having her come into my room every day was so healing. And fortunate enough to be able to have had that gift of spending that much time with her so early on in her life. We are like this, a special relationship. Being able to, it just wouldn't be a good interview if I didn't have some kind of a lapse, right? What was the question?
That's all right. About your work. So you had a job before?
Yes.
And now what are you doing?
Yeah. See, I knew it was going to happen.
That's all right.
So yeah, after moving back in, I found out that the job had been terminated the day that the aneurysm happened. They terminated me, and then it was okay. things had grown different at the job, and I was okay with that. I was at complete peace with having lost, the ability to go back there and everything. And I was being told by everybody just to focus on recovery. Don't worry about the job stuff. So I went on disability, and I started to get phone calls from this guy that I used to work with. And he said, Len, you should start sitting in on these webinars that we do just so you can see what's going on with the product. And it took me a long time. I started learning the product again and what it can do and what it can't do. And I don't want to be on disability for the rest of my life, but I know that with all these tests I go through with the doctors and what I try to do at home, I know I could not go back to a technology company like I used to work at and handle 16, 19 projects simultaneously. I couldn't do it. But if I started doing work myself, I can control the pace. I can take a nap at 2 in the afternoon and nobody's going to tell me I can't do that, right? And I think that just the process of interacting with people again has been helpful. And so I started out building a website or two, and then I started trying to sell time and attendance, and then there are other products that I resell for this other company. I try to, and I focus on that, and then it gives me purpose to feel good about being able to bring some money in and try to get to that point where I'll be able to go full on into work and not be on disability for the rest of my life. So that's what I work on. I have a lot of success because I have surrounded myself with people who are out there doing the work that needs to be done for clients, and I can work at my own pace. I have good days, I have not so good days. I don't have bad days anymore, but I have not so good days, and I push on. And so I feel I'm talking the talk and I'm talking the jargon again, and I can look at a design and I can say I know what needs to be done. And I can answer questions to people on the phone who want software to do something. And I'll say, yeah, they could be done, but it should not be done. And I'll tell you why. And I can have those conversations again. And so that feels good. That feels really good to be able to do that. And again, it's not the money chase. It's like a puzzle now. Can I solve that puzzle for that company? Can I get them from where they are to where they should be, the best place to be? Not just a place, but the best place for them. So the fact that I can think that stuff through again, that's a huge jump. It's a really huge jump. And to hear somebody on the other side of the phone telling me, oh my gosh, we're saving 16 hours a week by using this software. And I got my payroll person says, I got my life back. It used to take me 2.5 days to do this, and now it's taking me 3 hours to do it. That's good feeling, because I'm thinking, oh, I can do it again. I can get back there. I can do one at a time. I can't do 16 or 19 like I used to. But yeah, so that was my way of getting around. What am I going to do for the rest of my life if I can't go back to work for somebody else and do it the way they need it to be done so that they can make money? I can do it myself. I don't have to have somebody pressing down on me. Now I'm the guy. So yeah, that's That's what I'm doing.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, that's great to be able to work for yourself and work at your own pace. And if you don't like your boss, then you know who to talk to.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Good, you've got the control.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it feels good just to be able to talk to you about and kind of like give my testimony about, what I've gone through. I really hope that people who have gone through it, that they listen. I know it's not easy, and I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that this is the path that I took, and it works, and it can work for others. It totally can. I believe that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start this and interview the stroke experts, you guys, because I've never
Such
had
a
a stroke.
what's that?
I've never had a stroke.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
know.
want to. You don't have to understand it, Heather. You can understand it without having it happen. I think what you're doing is awesome. I think that I didn't have a podcast like you're doing to go to. There are support groups out there. Um, one is at the Easter Seals building down in Sacramento. They meet there like two nights during the week. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you can look it up online by going to the Easter Seals site. They use their buildings there, and there's good people leading that. I've gone many times to that, probably not as many as I could have, but yeah, everybody shares like what they're dealing with, and some of them continue to go and visit, long after they've, years after they've um, recovered, and they're some of them are back to work, some of them are just go because they've made friends and they want to share with new people coming in who need the support, and just to say, I'm still dealing with this, and sometimes it clicks and you go, oh, I've never heard of anybody say that they feel that or they're dealing with that. And so when you hear somebody else, all of a sudden, okay, well, how often is it happening now? And it's 4 years down the road, and once a month now. Then that person starts thinking, oh, so there's hope that I won't have to deal with this all the time forever. So just having that, and that's what you're doing with these, you get 20, 30 under your belt. It's going to be this whole massive support system that if I can't leave my home, I can have it through your podcast. I don't have to figure out how am I going to get down to the Easter Seals building. For those people who don't have family to be able to drive them back and forth like I did, that this is key. This is so good what you're doing, and your path to get here too is fascinating to me. How you got here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you summarized that for me and sent that to me. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your story, because it's great.
Yeah.
You're a healer.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you never know where life is going to take you.
You don't.
No.
I never thought I was going to have an aneurysm. I was healthy. They determined that it wasn't from hypertension, and I didn't have blood pressure problems. It had been there. It was the kind that you're born with. It's weakened vessels in that area, but that one in particular. And they have the technology to like scan and check at different depths if you have any more. And then our whole family got checked to see if it was hereditary. Did anybody else have what do you call it? Like when you're born with it, there's a term for that. But anyway, nobody else in the family is checked out for it. So that's really good. That's really good.
Good.
My father passed from an aneurysm he had in the shower, and he was 61 years old. And his mother had an aneurysm when she was 61.
Mm.
So everybody was really worried that, you know, I'm gonna hit 61 and it's gonna happen, but that's superstition. I'm good. I'm really good. The doctors have checked me out. I still go in for regular checkups. As a matter of fact, July 1st, this coming July 1st, they'll put a tube in around my thigh, and then they'll run it up into my brain, and they'll shoot hot ink up in there, and they'll light it up to see how the coils are doing that they put up there, to see if they've compressed anymore. So after year 1, there was some compression, and then at year 2, when they did it, there was no change from year 1. And so if I pass this year, I don't think I have to go in for another 2 years, but I still do that. I still go in for the eye checkups. I go in, see my regular doctor regularly to have him check on other things. I have a pill I have to take every day for, gosh, I forget what it's for, but it's for a gland that's not, you know, behaving the way it's supposed to, but the pill regulates it. And my mother had that, where she had to take the pill every day. So I don't know, it feels like some things have kind of like been triggered earlier than they would have, because I felt like I was really healthy before it happened, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't feel it coming. But yeah, it's I just see the docs regularly, and when they tell me to come back and they tell me to do something, or I do blood tests probably like 3 or 4 times a year. They're monitoring levels. Energy was a problem for a little while. I seem to have gotten my energy levels up because of that pill I take every morning. I try to, you know, hike and walk and stay healthy. Tiffany's great. She loves to do all these things that I like to do, so we do them together. And if I'm not doing something, she's there to cross-check me and, hey, are you doing this? Oh, I forgot. It's a very useful excuse to say, to have short-term memory issues. I can always say I forgot, but I got to be really careful not to overuse it. Then a lot of times it's real and you don't want it to be.
So
Yeah.
with your memory, are there certain things that help you, especially with your work now, that help you kind of keep on track and remember things?
Lists. Yeah, it's lists, and then sequencing. Like I know I got to do these things in this order, I write them down and I put little boxes next to them, and then as I do them, like every 2 or 3 steps, I'll check it off. But I literally have to think, did I do that? Yeah. Did I do that? Yeah. Literally have to think that. Whereas, you know, you get a list and you're like, you go down the list and you just know it's really fast. But sometimes I gotta check a box off for something that I just did. It's like, did I finish that? Yeah. I hide a lot of stuff really good. I'm a good hider. You know, I'm good at faking it, you know. Sometimes I know I'm supposed to do something and then I'll go, I'll get that later. And there's something very interesting with my memory. I've discussed this with my doctor. The short term's not there. My long term stuff is pretty good, but there's this area that somewhere along the way, the short term memory suddenly kicks in and it becomes part of the long-term memory subset. Does that make sense? And I don't know when it happens, but it is happening because things that I've forgotten that I did the day before yesterday, maybe 20, 25 days from now, it'll actually be in the long-term memory bank, and I'll go, oh yeah, I remember when I did that, but I could not have remembered it at all during that 20 days. And it's almost like the short-term memory, whatever's preventing me from remembering that it just happened, it actually recorded it. And then somehow it doesn't become visible to me until it gets to this long-term boundary, whatever that is. I've talked about it with the doctor several times. He's finally beginning to become interested in that. You know, he's become a little fascinated with it now, but I almost feel like it's relevant because I think it may be happening to others, and that maybe I'm just noticing the patterns. I've always been good at spotting patterns with things through my life. Maybe I'm just picking up on something, but it's definitely happening over and over and over and over again. So in a way, it's a comfort because I know that things that I believe I'll never remember, that they're actually popping up. And then I have had 2 glitches come to me about things that I had verified happened. I believe it was towards the end of the ICU time. I remember my youngest daughter showing me a picture on a phone where she went with her best friend Katie to go try on a wedding dress with her. And Megan, my youngest daughter, put on this dress. And you know, she wasn't getting married or anything. She just put on a dress, and she showed me the picture of Katie and her. And I remembered seeing her in that picture because I asked her about it later. But that didn't come to me until at least 2 years after coming home, you know. But just like one day I thought, huh, what is that about? And I called her up, and she goes, oh yeah, Dad, I showed you that picture. I was telling you about going and trying on wedding dresses with Katie because Katie was getting married. And so that was one of them. It just like came back after a couple of years, and that had to be my memory because my youngest daughter was the only one that showed that to me. Nobody else was around to see it, I don't think. So that's interesting to me. Maybe more stuff will come back, but yeah, just seeing a bunch of pictures that they just sent me this morning to give to you is brutal because it's weird when you see yourself, you know, like not in control, and your head's swollen, and you got tubes coming out of your head, and I know it doesn't feel good for my family to see me like that. You know, it's kind of like they flash back to it. They went through it differently than I did. And that's the thing that people who have strokes should remember too, is that you weren't the only one that went through it. Your whole family went through it. And it's not easy for them to see you like that. So even going back and looking at pictures, I know it's painful. So to ask them for the pictures and then have them like come through with them pretty quickly, I was pretty grateful for that, because I think in order for people to see how far you've come, they have to see how far you fell. So that's why I wanted to give you the pictures, because if there's strokes, people who have had strokes out there and they know what they went through, I think it will be important for them to maybe see I didn't have like this easy go of it, and I'm talking about things like, well, this is what I recommend you do, and then they're gonna say, that guy's full of crap, you know, I do this every day. Well, I think if they see where I fell to, and then talk about, you know, attitude and God and all of this, that they should, I'm not just putting it out there. It's because I really believe it. And maybe the pictures will help if they see that. And there's pictures of the journey along the way too, where they're, you know, I'm coming back, and there's the families with me in these pictures, and Tiffany's there, and my daughters and my sisters. You know, one of my sisters used to bring me McDonald's milkshakes because she knows that I loved them and I needed to put on weight. I had an immediate drop of it was 38 to 40 pounds, immediate drop of weight. I was down to 138 pounds. And it was very difficult to put on weight after coming home. Food didn't taste the same. It was hard for me to want to eat anything. I was comfortable and I wasn't hungry, but you got to eat because your body needs fuel. So when the therapists were working out, then I started to feel a little hunger, but things I used to like, I didn't anymore. Things I didn't, I did. So there's that to deal with too. It took me a long time I was starting to lose weight when I was eating more food, and that worried me for a second. I never had that problem before. So I had to kind of start doubling down on food almost, and eating it just as a means to put on weight, you know, because I didn't feel strong at 138, not even close. I felt very weak, but I knew I had to do better for the therapists, and so I could get a good grade and graduate from the program. So yeah, they have to deal with what they now look like, and that things may never be the same. But like I said, with the processing thing, I've come to grips that 4 years down the road here, coming up on 4 years, April 26th, I may never process fast again like I used to, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I came to grips with it. It was frustrating for a couple of years, but if that's the worst that it's gonna be, whatever. Next.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta count your blessings, look at how far you've come overall, and yeah, it sounds like you've come such a long way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, Len, is there anything else that you want to say, or anything we didn't go over that you wanted to include?
Oh boy. I don't know. There's a lot of humor and funny stuff that happened along the way. It wasn't all bad, you know. I met good people along the way. There was a lot of humor, and even in my condition, my family, everybody was telling me that I was making people in the hospital laugh. So that's good. You know, that means that's really me. I think that you know, when you're going through a hardship, you find out who you really are. So it was comforting to me to know that, oh, I was doing that even when that was going on. And they, oh my God, they said, brother, you were cracking those nurses up. Your therapist had to stop every once in a while because they were laughing so hard. Some of your responses and some of my language wasn't so, it was a little more colorful than it probably should have been. But yeah, I don't know. It's been good sharing with you. I hope it's a help to others, and if you ever think I can be helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, I would say pick up the phone and call me. I'm totally okay with it. because I really hope that I can help others. So whether it's the boxes or whether it's just sharing my story about Jesus, the reason I'm here is because of God. It's not because of anything else. It's not because I got lucky. It's because I'm blessed. And I think that part of the story, the entire story, the story to me is that God left me here for a reason. And I think, you coming to me is an opportunity for me to share. And I think that's part of the reason God left me here, is to help others. And now here you come and you're helping others. So you're this cog in this wheel that God is putting out there to help other people with strokes. And I love it. I love that it's getting attention. And I can tell that you're caring and you're driven by your heart, and people are going to see that, and they should listen. I think that when you find people that have big hearts, those are the people we should be listening to, not to everything else going on outside there. My aunt said they should have a good news station where you could just watch good news all day instead of all the horrible things being repeated over and over and over again. None of that's important. It's the good news we should be rewarding. We should be helping people who are helping others. So I'm excited to see, and I will follow you, and I will point other people in your direction to watch your podcasts and your stories, and I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's been just a pleasure talking with you and learning about how far you've come and what has worked for you, what wasn't that helpful for you. I think it's all really important information for people to hear, not just the stroke survivors, but their families and also us therapists. It's good for us to hear someone who's gone through it, to hear what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, and just hearing you. What I kept hearing you say over and over again was really that encouragement that meant so much in the hospital and from your
Totally.
family. Yeah. So I think that's the big takeaway I think everybody should get, is just celebrate those little wins, those small accomplishments.
Yes. Yeah. I guess to part, there were two guys that when I graduated from the hospital, the nursing station told me to go see them before I left because they wanted to say bye to me. So I went into these two rooms, and I taped up the scripture on the walls next to their beds, and I said, this helped me and it will help you. So every morning when you wake up, read it, touch it, and get up and go in there and do your physical therapy. And if you do, I'll come back and visit you. But they were sad that I was leaving, because just being around somebody else who was trying was encouraging to them. So sometimes people don't even need to say anything. They just need to sit with people. So for families of people who have had strokes, that's the message. You don't have to do everything. As a matter of fact, don't do everything for somebody who's had the stroke, but just be there, because that's what people need. They need to know that they're not going to be alone, and that they can do things, and we do things because people help us. They help push us along. Without other people, then it's very difficult. So for families, they should be there. Just be there. You don't have to do everything. Sit with them, read to them, sing to them. I was fortunate enough to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, thank you, Len. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited. I'll tell you, I'm planning on starting the YouTube channel, starting to release videos in May, because May is Stroke Awareness Month.
Oh.
So that's my goal, is to start doing it in May. And I still need to choose a YouTube channel name.
Oh.
So I wanted to go over a few names with you, and I want to see what you think. I was first thinking about Stroke Champions, and my husband suggested, he's a bit more creative, and he said, what about Backstroke? And I thought, oh, that's really creative. The only concern I have is I wonder if people are going to think it's like a swimming channel. That's my only concern, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's clever. It's clever.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, I'm amused by it. I remember this one teacher that I was going to business school, and he said about names, like names of businesses. He said clever is clever, but it won't get you found. And he always said, if you're a vacuum cleaner shop, you're not going to call it Suck It. They're gonna think, it's some derogatory shop that is, sells adult joke things or something, products. He said, if you're a vacuum cleaner shop, the vacuum cleaner shop works because people know exactly what it is, right? So my fear would be the same as yours. Backstroke's very clever. I like it because the folder that I keep all of my writings in, I journal sometimes. My folder is called the Comeback Tour. So I know where your husband's at with that, right? So backstroke, I get it. I was in a physical therapy class one day, and they put on music when everybody starts to work out with the different therapists. And we started to work out, and I realized the song, it was a Billy Squier song. And I said, is this Billy Squier? And she said, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. And I go, is this a joke? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, this song's called The Stroke, or Stroke Me, right? By Billy Squier. I don't know if you remember that song, and she went, oh my God. And she laughed, and everybody stopped moving. And then they all started laughing because I don't think she remembered that. So the cleverness of it all, right? I
Yeah.
understand. So Stroke Champions, Backstroke.
Yes. Those are the
You have
two
another one?
going back and forth, but I am leaning towards Stroke Champions, just to be clear, so people know.
Yeah, I would say I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think backstroke, I swam on a swim team for 14 years when I was younger. So I would think it's a swimming channel if I saw backstroke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But you could always, when you're optimizing the channel and you're putting in like your meta tags and stuff so that you can be found, you could always throw backstroke in there
There we go.
as a tag.
I'll fit it in there somehow.
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even know May was Stroke Awareness Month. That's good to know. I
Yeah.
didn't know when to reach back to hospitals. I know you still can't go in to assisted living homes, or I don't think I can just walk into Mercy anymore. the way I used to, I would walk right into the stroke unit. I think you have to go in through the front door now, and then they hit you with the temperature and all of that. Yeah, but I'll look forward to when they do start opening up again. I go and see the director of that wing. She gave me her card. I think her name was Kathleen something, but she was the one I sat down with Nikki, who was the physical therapist. I still text Nikki probably once a year and just tell her how grateful I am for her. And I went in and saw her one time and gave her a big hug, and she used to take a grease pen and write on the window of my room to explain things that were happening to me, and how we were going to get around those. Because Nikki would always say, we have to go right at them, but that's what they would expect. So we're going to go around them. And I thought that was really clever. It stuck with me. And that's how I got my vision back. I was pretty worried about my vision there for a little bit. Even though my faith is strong, sometimes, little things get in the way and you think, dang, it's pretty scientific. How are they going to overcome that? And then there's the doctor right across the street.
That's amazing.
This guy's amazing. He's Don Fong. He's shorter than I am, which makes it even better because I don't have to be the shortest one in the room all the time. He's a funny guy. He's very funny, and he's got a son who's a doctor, and he tells me stories when he's running tests on me. I think you would like talking to him.
Oh yeah.
He's fascinating.
He's
Not a stroke victim, but I told everybody at the hospital about him because I overheard somebody talking about these glasses, and I had to get referred to him in order for the insurance to look at it, but then he doesn't take insurance. So, but he let me use these glasses for months, and then I had to return them to him when my eyes were fixed, but he never charged me for the use of the glasses.
Wow.
I got charged for the 2 visits. I paid cash for him because he doesn't really do the insurance thing. He might now, but I don't know. He didn't. And Tiffany is going to actually go see him to get her eye checkup through him, because he doesn't just do the specialty stuff, but there's only 200 and something doctors in the United States that know how to make these glasses right now, and he's trained them all. You wouldn't believe it. He uses this glue to glue the layers of the lenses onto the glasses, so they're not pretty by any means, but then he has a solution where he can separate the lenses from and reuse these prisms over and over and over again, because everybody needs a different combination. Yeah, at first it sounded very mystical to me, but when I saw him making them right in front of me with glue and everything, and he goes, try these. And then we ran some tests, and he had to remove one of them, and he put another prism on, glued it, try this. And I went, oh my God, I can see.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy.
That's so cool. And so he's in Sacramento?
Yeah, right across from Mercy San Juan.
Oh my.
Yeah, he's on let's see.
On Coil?
Yeah, that card I showed you in the very beginning, I had to give it to Tiffany too, because she asked me for it the other day. Yeah, Don Fong, ODFGI. He's on J Street, 3956 J Street.
Oh, J Street. So that must have been across the street from Mercy General.
Okay, so it's Mercy General.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, so Mercy General is the rehab
Mhm.
part of the hospital then, and Mercy San Juan is the stroke unit where the ICU was.
Oh, okay. Is that right?
And that, yeah, that's where I go to get the surgeries for the thing that they shoot the hot ink into my head. That same location, except I go in the front to the left and the ICU's to the right. What I'll do with the pictures,
Mhm.
I'll get them all off the phone to my laptop, and then I'll send them. I don't know that I have your, yeah, I have your email. I'll send them to you, and I'll put a little writing underneath each one so you know who's in the picture.
Okay, that'd be great.
And I might not know the name of the one picture I saw this morning that was the tall therapist and the guy with the red hair. They were the ICU therapists that worked really diligently with me to get movement back and everything with me. The one I said I thought her name was Heather too. I may have to ask my Tiffany and Miranda and my sister Pam what their names were to put them on the bottom. But if you're going to utilize them, it would probably be good for you to have their names. I don't think they would have a problem with their names being out there, even if it's like their first names. I don't even know if we know their last names, but I remember going back into the ICU 1 year after leaving. I had been asked by a couple of the doctors, you ever consider going back and, saying hello to them in the ICU, because all they see is people dying. They never get anybody that lived come back to them. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go back to them. I'd love to be able to thank them. Well, it was a very strange day. My family and Tiffany wanted to go back too because they spent so much time there with them. So they gathered them all together, and then they buzzed the doors open for me to walk into the ICU, and the family came behind me, and they were all so happy to see me walk in. And I felt bad because I didn't recognize them. If I'd seen the tall girl and the guy with the red hair, I probably would have recognized them. I had to meet them I only got to meet the one out in the hallway because the other one was busy during the time of the visit. But yeah, I just, there were so many nurses and they were short, and they all coming over, giving me hugs and everything. And it was good. I told them, I'm so sorry. I don't remember any of you, but I know that you're all here because you worked on me and you encouraged me and you told me I was going to get better. And I just wanted to come back and give you guys a hug and tell you that I love you all, So that was a really great day.
That's huge.
But yeah, they don't, I was surprised when they said that they don't see a lot of people leave there. I didn't realize that the fatality rate was so high
Mm.
until I started reading about what had happened to me after the fact. And then I just was like even triply grateful, that I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's almost like when you come along and you ask me, well, wow, what an opportunity. Yeah, I'm grateful, Heather. Thank you for giving me a chance to have the chance to help somebody. Maybe if they hear one thing that strikes home with them, they'll have hope, and they'll try harder, or I don't know.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah,
think it's a good thing.
definitely. Yeah, well, I know that what your story and everything you've said today, I know it's going to help somebody. So
Hope so.
thank
Yeah, I
you.
hope so.
Yeah.
Through you, it's going to help somebody. Yeah.
Teamwork.
It'll be good to hear, for me to hear other people's stories too,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah. Maybe somebody's going to say something about the processing, and I'm going to go, oh, and I'm really going to listen with intent and see if they're doing something different that could help speed things up for me. I'll totally be listening for that, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah,
to see
good.
what you're going to do.
Me too. Well, I'll definitely email you once I get the channel up and running and when your video will be coming out. And yeah, my husband said he'll help me with editing, the videos if they need to be
Oh
edited.
my God. Apologize to him in advance for me. He's going to be in there late one night going, does this guy ever shut up?
No, he told me don't even think about editing, just film as much as you can. And he said editing's super easy. And because I told him, I said, I don't really want to be editing that much. I just want to post the, talking with them.
Yeah.
So, but he'll help me with anything that needs to be cut out or put together or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. What does he do for a living?
He's a graphic designer and musician and does a lot with computers. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, pass me his information. I use my oldest daughter as a graphic designer, but she doesn't do it for a living. She's just like, she's a photographer,
Okay.
but she's really gifted with the graphic design stuff. But yeah, I'd love his information just in case I need him.
Okay.
I'd be happy to reciprocate, service and work and stuff. But your questions were really good.
Oh, good.
They were very good questions. They were relevant, and you made me think about things I had not thought about before.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, honestly, a big reason I'm doing this is because I wish there was already something like this out there so I could tell my patients of somewhere to go and look to see other people who have gone through it, because I'm mostly working in home health right now.
Yeah.
So I see them when they come home, and um, once they come home and realizing how different life is now,
Oh boy.
it's, a lot of the people I see are pretty deep into depression and not wanting to, they just can't see their future, how their future is going to look, you know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I can tell them all day, your brain is an amazing thing, like just keep working at it, like neuroplasticity, just, you can learn and change your brain at any age no matter what happened. And I could tell
Mm-hmm.
them all this stuff, but they're like, okay, yeah, lady, I have a headache now, like stop talking to me.
It was funny. I found myself like getting a little depressed at some times. But once I knew, that disability had the law firm had got me the disability because they were denying in the beginning, but the law firm helped and they got it. But once I knew like my rent was going to be all right, and I wasn't going to like have to go live with one of the kids or something like that. I didn't want that at all. I started focusing on like the simple list that list the have tos and then the want tos, and I got into a routine. And by being alone for a while, like the first week, my only objectives were to get up, shower, have a cup of coffee, and go into the backyard and sit in a chair in the sun, and then do a little reading, and then to focus on when I was going to make food for myself. I had the things to do, like make sure all the burners were off, all that kind of stuff. Getting back into cooking for myself, I was practicing at my oldest daughter's house, and leaving a burner on was a problem for a while. couldn't remember to like turn them all off. So timers were really important to have. You set alarms for yourself on your cell phone. And that's what I did. I had that list and then I set alarms. And then pretty soon I backed off the alarms. But just little things in the beginning, not to expect to go back to normal. It was really helpful to have that time at my daughter and son-in-law's house. That was super helpful. I went through driving tests. I paid a company in Sacramento $340 to come give me a driving test because the last thing I want to do was kill somebody because I couldn't see. I missed something. Like I wasn't sequencing the right thing, but driving, you can't sequence. There's too many variables. So I waited to try to get back in the car. And then I paid and I got the tests and the drive with the guy. And he drilled the heck out of me and I passed. Perfect score. That was the only way I was going to get back into a car, was to score perfect, because I just wanted to be able to drive to the store and go home and not up and back from Placerville to Fair Oaks. That wasn't the goal. The goal was just be able to be independent again. And then of course, to drive and see Tiffany. And Tiffany came and saw me, but I went and saw her. And for a while I was using Uber and Lyft when I went home. And that was super helpful. I'll go to the store with Lyft, and then I'll get on the phone, I'll sit down, I'll put my things down, I'll take my time, and I'll request the car. And then even at the hospital, part of rehab was making sure that when you buy something, they're standing right there with you. You're giving the right money and you're getting the right change. I mean, everything that you just take for granted. It's just, they had to go through all the stuff with me, and some stuff I thought was ridiculous, but then when it came time to be tested, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna blow this. It was like a test in school, simple stuff. So yeah, depression was a little battle, but I ended it fairly fast. I think I was battling it for maybe 3 to 4 weeks. It wasn't like a feel sorry depression. It was just this, gosh, I know I've worked back this much, but now I'm going to be alone. I don't have anybody looking over my shoulder to make sure I'm giving the right change or anything like that. I could get lost. So the list, 4 things, and I do this today. Anytime I leave the house: phone, glasses, keys, and wallet. And in my wallet is the thing so that if something did happen to me, the paramedic's going to know my history, who my doctors are, who the person to call for help is. Everything's right there on this card. And every cell phone has what's called ICE, ICE. It's a page you go to and you fill out all your information on, and paramedics know about it. They know one guy's going to go to the phone, the other guy's going to search your wallet. They're going to try to get the information the fastest. But it's all your emergency information. If you're taking medications, if you're allergic to anything, your doctor's name and numbers, what hospitals, your insurance, your emergency contacts, who they are. It's Tiffany. It's also my oldest daughter, because between the two of them, they'll know exactly everything that they need to know to save me, like the paramedics, right? Those two people will know. My sister too, but my other sister she lives up in Tahoe in Incline Village, so she's not going to be close. But the other two can go to wherever if something was to ever happen again. So I didn't know about all that stuff, but that's helpful. And then those 4 things, I just do those 4 things every time I leave the house. Got that, got that, got that, got that. And then I'm good to go. And I'm a great driver again, the way I used to be. I haven't had a ticket or anything for like going on 17 years now. and I can drive. Like I could drive fast. I still park excellent like I used to. I can parallel park like nobody's business. So I feel 100% in the car again. Otherwise, I wouldn't be driving, because I know I won't hurt anybody. I won't kill anybody. I haven't been in an accident. I've had a lot of near misses, but I've been so aware that in a split second I can make a quick judgment, and it's the right call every time. And if I couldn't, I wouldn't drive. I'd just give it up. I'd use Uber and Lyft. Thank God those companies are there, because people with strokes can totally use them. And I've got the same, I had the same drivers a lot of times. So they're like, "Oh, you going to see your girl again?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they go, "We know where to go." And they plug it in. I go, "You know?" I go, "Yeah, we got your history." I'm like, "Oh, wow." I don't even have to tell you where to go now. Pretty soon you're going to tell me where to go.
That's great.
Especially if I give them a bad tip, they're going to tell me where to go.
That's good. Oh, all right. Well, Len, thank you so much for talking with me today. This was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll send you the pictures, and I'll send you the information for the doctor if you ever want to list him as resources or whatever. I'll give you the names of my doctors at Mercy too, if you ever wanted to interview them. I think that stroke unit happens to be, it's either number 1 or number 2 in the entire United States.
Oh.
The Mercy down there, no joke. It's that unit down there has the most stroke specific physicians, equipment, and staff. I'd like to say it's number 1. It might be number 1, to be honest with you. I found this out, of course, after I left the rehab, but they really know what they're doing. They really do. They're equipped there with the right people too. They're so patient. There was one occupational therapist. She was hard on me. But the very last day when I graduated, I said, "I'm not leaving until I see her." And then she was in another hospital building or whatever. I waited, and she came and she said, "So I heard I can't get rid of you until I came back to see you." And I said, and I just gave her a hug. I said, "I know if I asked for that, you wouldn't give it to me." And she said, "Oh, I'd have given it to you." But sometimes you have people who you got to be firm with, right?
Oh, yeah.
They have all kinds there. It's a great hospital. I'll send you all that information. Thanks, Heather.
That'd be great. Thank you. Awesome. Well, have a good rest of your day.
You too.
All right, I will.
Enjoy it. It's beautiful out there.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Bye, Len.
Bye. Bye.